Okay. So Carol Kaufman and I have been working together for a long time. Carol is the founder and former CEO of the Institute of Coaching at Harvard. She's also a recovering clinician. And we've been talking about the notion of this issue of coaching and consulting for a long time. And what we've come up with, and we've talked about it in a couple of other places, is this notion of an infinity loop. And that what we're doing is, as coaches, and again, we're not talking about life coaching, I'm not talking about life coaching, but parenting coaching maybe, in addition to the other stuff, the sports coaching and the wellness coaching and the nutritional coaching. You know, there are a number of areas where there is a body of knowledge, there is a body of research that is relevant to what you're doing. And if you're not using that information, what William James called using what we know about people, then you're not giving the benefit to the person that you think that they're looking for. And so if you think about this, and I'm not calling it a consulting versus coaching, I'm calling it learning versus coaching. Because I think consulting carries a lot of weight with it. And if you think about it, most experienced coaches are in a coaching space, and then at some point they decide, I'm going to go into a different place. And I'm going to do something. And it may be for 30 seconds. But I'm going to do something, I'm going to say, have you ever thought about what the person we're talking to is thinking about and needs? And that's directive, right? It's framed as a question, but it's very directive. And the person goes, oh, gee, I hadn't thought about that. And then you go back in. Now you're in coaching mode again. You say, well, what's that like for you? What would that be like for them? And you push them to think about it. And so you're constantly moving back and forth beyond in this process from empathy and listening and positive regard into challenge and questioning and telling them what best practice is and saying that's a career limiting activity if you do that. And then you go back into it. And you're back into the coaching space, and then you pivot again. And so you're constantly moving through this cycle of going from working on blind spots, working on the Johari window corner where you don't know what you don't know, and into what you do know and what facts you have. And by the way, this is much more relevant in some ways for psychologists who have gone into this because we have that body of knowledge, but it's also relevant for business people who go into this because they have business knowledge. Berman Leadership has been around for 20 years. I've probably done 20,000 hours of coaching during that period of time, which if you think about it means I could have learned a whole nother skill and become expert at it during half that time. But I could have been a cook, I could have been sailing, But and I have a team of people who all coach. And what we're finding is that more and more companies want somebody who knows what they're going through, who has some experience. It doesn't mean that they have to have been a lawyer, but they have to know something about that world. And it matters to them because they feel seen by those people. They feel understood by those people. And so, that matters to the client that you're working with. And what matters to there are two aspects in any change-focused relationship. There's the relationship itself,